Hi, friends. Okay, I'm still a little bit sick, so in case I feel like I can't come in tonight because I don't want to get you all sick, I'm gonna do these in a video so that you can all watch them. First, let's talk about the basics. Stage makeup is gonna be like a little bigger, a little more saturated than everyday life makeup. And then secondly, most of us will have kind of like one makeup look that we use when we go out. And stage makeup gives you the opportunity to play with different looks so that you can really like follow your character and make your look match the character that you want to portray through your routine. The basic and the first thing to start with is foundation. I use Smashbox CC Cream, although unfortunately at the moment I just found out that my new bottle of it seems to have been reformulated and is now not the right color for me. Fortunately, I still have a little bit of this left. The most important thing about picking out foundation is that you want to find one that matches your skin tone. It's good to check on a part of your body that's going to be the same color as your face. So like if your arms are tanned from walking around outside and your face is not, maybe use the inside of your arm instead of your forearm, and vice versa. Now, okay, if you put foundation on your whole face, the important thing to know is that you're going to have to put all of the color back in because the thing that foundation does is make like a blank canvas for you to work on. So if you put foundation on, you're going to have to put on blush and possibly contouring makeup and that kind of stuff. If you do know that you want to put on contouring, it is good to start with a full mask of foundation. I'm just going to put it on my kind of problem areas because then like the natural colors of my face can help me look less made up when I do finish my look. So for me, that's down here. Depending on whether you have any particular blemishes, you may need to use something that's a little more that's a little lighter. I've forgotten it. I have a highlighting stick and I'll use that. It's like a lighter pink, so I'll put that on the like particularly red spot and then do foundation over that. Now, notice I'm dabbing it on with my fingers and I want to put like a little bit more on right now than I think I'm going to need because the next thing we do is take a nice big, very dense brush and use it to brush that out. So you're gonna pull the makeup out away from the kind of center. Make sure you get down on your chin because you don't wanna look like you have a mask of makeup on. And then if it looks like you've brushed away the part that you were hoping to cover, you can go back in and dab on again and you can kind of pat it with your brush. This is what drag queens call beating your face. And it's because you look like you're beating your face. So, fortunately, my skin is pretty clear right now, so I don't have to do a lot of covering because it takes time to cover everything, and we get to move on to the fun stuff instead. So, blush is the next step. Again, because this is stage makeup, you want to go like darker than you would in everyday life. Blush is another important thing. Foundation is really like key, particularly as we get older and your skin just isn't quite as fresh as it used to be. I recommend investing in like a good foundation, and blush is the same way because as I said, once you put foundation on, you really need to put on blush as well. This is my favorite. It's called Torrid by NARS. NARS makes excellent blush. Everything is backwards in my camera right now because I'm using photo booth. I'm hoping that that's not true once I watch the video, but we don't really know. So I'll just tell you what stuff is, and this is what it looks like. Another good one that I know works for a lot of people is called Super Orgasm, also by NARS, and this one has some glitter in it, which is nice for like stage makeup. So you want to take your blush brush. This is like, if you're only going to buy one brush, this is probably the one to have because it's really hard to put on blush with your like fingers. Having a nice kind of rounded tip helps you keep from getting kind of harsh lines. So I'm going to take it, do a little swirl in here and then shake off the extra, and then I'll smile and put it on like the round parts of my cheek and drag back along my cheekbone. So okay, now you'll probably notice that I have these kind of big spots, and so we can take a clean brush and then feather out from there. So keep it from looking like you painted on a doll's face. You don't want to get too close into your nose because it starts to look you want to kind of highlight this part of you. Like this should be the brightest part of your face because it makes your face kind of pop more. You can usually come in and wipe it off with your fingers. If you're very red like me, the big problem there is that you get then this, like, your face looks red from touching it, and so you have to wait until it calms down to see whether you did it correctly. I have on a little more blush than I would put on for going out, but I want to put a little bit more on for the stage, and I'm going to go over it with the Super Orgasm that's sparkly, and make sure I bring it out to the sides of my face a little bit more because I didn't have as much there. Again, I'm going to feather it out, and then I'm going to wait and see how this looks after my face has calmed down from being touched with a brush. Okay, so this is like your basic starter for pretty much any look you're going to go for when you're on the stage. You will probably want to put on blush and foundation to cover any problem spots and make yourself look more alive. So the first look we're going to do is kind of glamorous. This is good if you're maybe doing lyrical or dramatic. It works for sexy too. It's the kind of like you, but a little bit more. So this is a fairly basic makeup look. We're going to do a smoky eye. I'm going to do one side and then show you a variation on the other side. Let's see. So the important thing about doing a smoky eye is you want at least 3 colors, and you're going to do kind of a fade in. So when I'm going out, I know that fall colors, so like browns and reds and pinks, look good on me. So I usually go with this. It's the Modern Renaissance palette by Anastasia Beverly Hills. I like their colors. They're very saturated. When you have a very saturated color, it does mean you need to blend outward because you can end up with like lines, and we don't want those. But because this is stage makeup, I'm going to go for something kind of more intense. So I'm going with Urban Decay Moonspoon. Great name for that. And then this I got in Europe, so I don't know if we can find it here. But it's called Bourgeois. It's like a middle color. And then for our last, I'm going to see whether this silver works. And if it doesn't, I'll go with one of my basics, which is this Sephora like shimmery white powder. It's like an ivory with some gold flecks in it. For some reason I can't find this anymore, which makes me really sad, probably because matte makeup is very in right now. So as I said, you want at least 3 colors. You want dark, medium, and light, and we're going to put them on from the outside of the eye to the inside of the eye. So everyone's eyes are going to be different shapes. I have very deep set eyes, which is nice for this kind of look because it's easy to highlight kind of the natural lines. If you don't have deep set eyes, you might want to play around with this and see kind of what looks best on you. All makeup is going to be specific to your face, so make sure that you're not just following what you see here or what you see on some YouTube tutorial, because what looks good on one person may not look good on you. So, new brush. I like to go with something kind of densely packed. The looser the brush is, so like the more kind of loose it is, the more it's gonna be for like feathering stuff out. It's gonna make like a really light, not very saturated look. So we usually want to start with something that's denser and can make it more saturated, and then use the feathering brush to come in afterwards and like blur out the lines. If you don't have brushes, you can use your fingers. I used my fingers for years and then discovered brushes for a totally different reason. I buy them at TJ Maxx because they're cheaper. You can buy them at Sephora. They're going to be really expensive. They may or may not be nicer. But as I said, one of these is really useful. A blush brush is really useful. And then, as I said, if you're only going to get one more than that, I would get this, which is an eyebrow brush. That'll be really helpful when we do our eyebrows, and it also can put on powder like a liner. So any powder you can put on in like a kind of a liner way, so you can make it dense and more saturated by wetting it a little bit. Let's see. So let's start with our darkest color. We want to make sure the brush is clean. And then again, I sort of go in, I do both sides of the brush, tap it a little bit to get off the extra, and then you're going to come in and it's like 2 strokes like a V on its side. So you'll go along the lash line and then you'll go into the crease. Okay, so now how you brush it or fade it out from your eye kind of depends on the look you like, and again, like on your eye. So my eye sockets are different shapes because most people's faces are not perfectly symmetrical. So I usually don't try and go up onto my brow line, but you can do that. So some people will come up into here, and they'll do a little bit of darkness in here and then some highlighter here. The kind of like classic 80s look brings it back onto your eyebrow line here, and then kind of comes out in a straight line. So that's something fun if you want to look kind of 80s and a little bit like a rocker, but it's kind of dated, so I wouldn't do that now. Okay, so I've got my darkest on, and this isn't coming out as dark as I'd like it to, so I might come in. Oh, here's another good palette. Urban Decay's Naked palettes are really nice for like everyday use. So I'm going to come in with the darkest one here, this kind of black, and just darken this up a little bit because, as I said, this is great for a going out look, but it's not looking dramatic enough for the stage. So I bring this in here. And into the crease. And then you can see it's got like a darker line here, so you can bring it just a little bit down onto the corner of your eye. Painting your lower eyelid it can be problematic. So I'm going to do a look after this where we do put color on the lower eyelid. I never use a liner on my lower lid because it will make your eyes look smaller. You can do liner on just the lower lid and it will look very dramatic, but I never do liner on the top and the bottom because, as I said, it makes your eyes look smaller. There can be some exceptions to this, so you can come in just like halfway. Usually when I'm doing liner, I never go all the way around the eye, so I'll just come halfway into the middle here and maybe a little bit on the bottom here. And in fact, I am going to do this on this eye because, as I said, this is a little more dramatic than I would normally do. So you can see right now we've got these kind of lines in here, so I'm going to come in with the feather and just brush it out a little bit. But that's mostly going to get taken care of when I put on my second color. I'm going to go a little bit deeper in here. And notice I'm only bringing it to the center of the eye. And then I'm going to do a little bit on the bottom to make this shape fade out a little more to the corners. So now I want to come in, I want to wipe my brush off. You can get brush cleaners. I'll spray a little bit of alcohol to get rid of germs if I'm not feeling well. So I'll clean up all of this afterwards. You can wet them under water and then wipe them. I usually just wipe them on like a paper towel or a tissue. You can also use makeup remover. All right, let's come in with my second color now, which is the lighter silver. And this we're going to do on the middle of the eye. And then I'll show you, you can also do kind of a streak of highlighter right down the center of the eye. And again, that makes your eyes look a little bit more luminous. So you want to kind of paint this into the V that we just left. And also help it like fade in. So you're not really going further on the eye than like the outside edge of the inside edge of your iris. And this one I might bring up a little more onto the brow line because it's not as dark, so it'll give a little more of that effect. All right, so now we've got a smoother transition from the dark into the light. And we've done the middle of our eyes. I hope that you can see this. Finding good light to do your makeup is key. So you want to find natural light if at all possible. And make sure if you're using an artificial light source, they usually come in like, sometimes they can be very orange, and that's going to affect like the colors that you put on and how you perceive it. So do try and find a light source that's more neutral. Okay, so I've got my first two colors on, and now I'm going to come in. Let's see. I'm not going to use this, well, I'm going to use this silver to do a little streak of highlighter in the center. So usually I'll do this with my finger and then just pat on. And this one I'll bring up onto the eyebrow ridge and then kind of blend it out from there. So now we've got a little bit of highlighter there. This one isn't looking quite as shimmery as I'd like, so I'm going to come back in with something that is very shimmery and go over that. As I said, this is my favorite kind of inner eye color. You can kind of go with anything light. So this pale gold is good. This color that they call tempera is good, but this is going to be matte. Matte is very in right now, which can be good, but when you're mixing shimmers and mattes, it's not necessarily going to give you the look that you want. So I'll come in with this one that they call Vermeer, which is like kind of a pale beigey, pinky beige that's got shimmer in it. And then I'm going to start at the inside corner of my eye and drag outward. And this I do with my finger because I want it to be a little more packed on there. The lighter colors you can pack on a little more densely without them looking kind of heavy. So now, if you can see from having not only one eye done, I've got this like highlighted place in the center. And I'm going to take the gold. Gold is a really good highlighting color, so I'm going to take a little bit of the gold and go over that center spot. And it's not looking as good as it might because I put it over the silver. That was a mistake. You can also use your highlighting color on the bottom lid. This can get into creases, so you want to be careful when it comes up in here in particular. So again, you kind of want to start about in the middle and then drag out. We'll do that with the brush. And that gives your eye a little bit more pop, but you want to be careful that you're not coming in here because that can also kind of highlight dark circles or bags if you have them. I'm gonna sneeze. Sorry. If you do get makeup in the wrong place, Q-tips are your friends. And I like to use a lotion because it's easier to control. So this is my favorite Elizabeth Arden 8-Hour Cream. I put it all over my face and on my lips, and it even, I find, doesn't affect pulling, and I'm a slippery person, so if it works for me, it will probably work for you. So you take a little bit of the lotion, dab even less than that onto the Q-tip, and then use the Q-tip as a little eraser. So I'm coming in and taking out the shimmer that fell kind of under my eye that I didn't want there. And you can see it actually got quite a bit of powder that fell off when I was putting on the rest of my makeup. Okay, so now we've got this smoky eye. I could even go darker than this for our stage look. Maybe we'll darken it up just a little. And you can do this with color as well, which is fun. You can kind of match it to your costume. You can pull it out and leave the line there a little bit to make it look a little bit like a cat eye, or you can fade it and give it a rounder edge, which is a little bit softer. Now, so with this, because we're doing glamour, I'm going to give it a cat eye eyeliner on top of it. Where did I leave it? Liquid liner is great. Now the thing about liquid liner is it's going to give you stark lines. So after I put them on, I like to come back in with a powder and dab the powder over it in the same color. You can also do something more fun. It will show up nicely on the black. So the way to do a cat eye is to go to the corner of your eye and make a little bit of a line, just a short line that comes out from your bottom lid. And then you start in the middle of your eye, you draw right along the lash line to that bottom mark, and then you start at the same place and draw out to the top mark of the lid, or of the line that you just drew out, and that will give you a good shape. It can be difficult to do cat eyes if you've never done them before, so you do want to practice. Things that can go wrong, if you can get too rounded on here and that will look weird. I always have a difficult time because, again, my eyes are different shapes and that will affect like how the cat eye looks. So don't go too far out your first time, or like when you put on the makeup to begin with. You can always put on more. It's much harder to take it off. So we'll start here. I'm going to line the lid first, just to the center of my eye, and then make a little mark out. And then come from that mark back in. Be careful about shutting your eye too soon after you do this because it's wet, and it will get on the rest of your lid, which is not ideal. So now I'm filling in the little V that I made. And the thicker the line, the more dramatic it's going to be. So again, for stage makeup, you're going to go a little thicker than you would. Hopefully you can see that. And then I'm going to come back in, give it just a second to dry. And come back in, and I'm going to go with my shimmery color because it's going to be darker once I put it on the nice black undercoat. You can also use like a black base. This is from the drugstore. It's NYX like eyeshadow base. It's kind of like a slightly greasy black, but you put it on and then you pat your color over it and it will look more saturated. So here's my silver. Start at the outside. Brush along it. And then I'm going to take one of my smaller brushes, this one, and I'm going to go along the line. And what this does is soften up that line that you just drew so it doesn't look messy. Blending is a big part of makeup and making yourself look more put together. All right, so now that I've softened that line with the black, I'm going to come back with my light color and pull it just onto the front of that. And again, it will get rid of this kind of weird transition that we've got going on. So my lighter color was in here. And again, I'll just do this with my finger. And again, you just sort of pull a little onto the black and then push a little back out to smooth that. And you only do kind of the first part. So from the corner of your eye into your pupil, and then that helps it be a more even transition. Okay, so we've got that on, and then the last step is going to be eyelashes. Now, I know Stacy is going to tell you how to put on false eyelashes because I don't know how to do it. I love Better Than Sex mascara. It's Too Faced is the brand, and I find that it makes my lashes a lot darker and longer and gives them a nice curl so that I don't have to wear... Oh, you know what? I forgot. Again, because this is a stage look, we want to go a little more dramatic. So I'm going to put this heavy metal glitter liner on from the corner of my eye in, again, out to the middle, and that's going to bring more of a pop to the center of my face, to the center of my eyes. It'll make my eyes look a little wider and fancier because it's glitter. Again, you want to watch blending the sparkle into your eyeliner, and it's going to get mixed up with your black liner that you just put on, so you want to maybe wipe it off occasionally, because otherwise when you're going out to the corner it will bring that black with it, which we don't want. It's being a little weird today, I'm not sure why. There we go. So I'm just kind of packing that glitter on into the center. Again, it gives a nice shimmer. It's looking a little weird in this light on the camera, but it's nice in person. And the nice thing is that we will be in person even though you've got the stage lights on, and it's different being on camera because light just reacts differently in person. So, I've wiped it all off. Here's our Q-tip. Let's come back in with a little bit of the pale powder. That works too. I love this shimmer powder. I'm so sad that I can't get it anymore. So there we go. See, we've got a nice shimmery highlight on the center. And then we come back in with the darker color to blend that line because I messed it up. So a lot of this is a dance back and forth where you start with one color and then you come in with another color and then you go back to the first color to make sure things look even. Okay, there we go. Good enough. Now we come in with the mascara. So there, now again, if you're going out, I usually just do the top lash. Because we're on stage, I'll do just the outside edge of the bottom lash. there, and it just makes my eye look a little bit more dramatic. You want to go all the way to the roots of the eyelashes and then drag out from there. Lipstick. Now, when you're doing makeup for the street, you usually only want to highlight one feature. So you want to either do eyes or lips. But again, because of the stage, we're going to do both. I'm going to shut this off because it's been a half an hour. And you probably don't want to watch anymore anyway. And then I'm going to do another video where we talk about lips. And I'll leave this. We'll move on to the next video so you can take a break.